Hi guys, hope everyone had an awesome weekend. I went out with Dave and Tim this weekend. We did do some thrifting. It was really horrendous. I'll get into that in a minute. I also went junk picking. That was pretty fun. Dave's not too much into it like Tim and I are. It's okay. He drove us around anyways. Busy morning. Got a bunch of yard work done. It is brush removal in the next couple weeks in this area, so the town will pick it up. So we had a ton of that to get ready in our old Christmas tree. We're also making a big vegetable garden. We want to be a little bit more self-sustaining. So I think that's pretty cool. And we want to teach the kids how to do that stuff as well. So I've been working on that. I got the felt down, the stakes in. We did get it rototilled. So now I got to get the chicken wire up and make a little gate and stuff. So that might be a project for tomorrow. I'm running a little late on time here. It's usually later than I usually do my videos, but we're going to get right to it. And the subject today is these thrift stores. I do believe they are going to die, guys. And a list here on why I believe that at some point they will just die out, and here's why. First one I'm going to say is actually corporate greed. Now, your Savers Value Village, Goodwill, all of these are big corporations. They're not charitable organizations. They donate a small portion to charity, but what they do donate is very tiny compared to their actual profits. And there is some speculation that the amount they actually donate is less than what they are claiming. So who knows with that? I guess you'd have to do some digging into it. I'm not too sure if you can actually dig into their books. I would assume maybe some of them are publicly traded companies, and you could. It would be interesting to see how little it actually is. But as for the overpricing goes, if you've watched a lot of my videos, we do go to the thrift stores. I'm going to say 2 to 3 times a month, and it's more of just to go to hang out with friends and family and stuff. Honestly, I really don't buy much there anymore. There's hardly any deals. Any good video games are under the glass case, or any marginally good ones are in the glass case. If you go and look in the regular parts, they're just the $5 and under games, and they're charging usually more than $5 for them. It's ridiculous. Yesterday, for example, we went in, there was a Genesis game, NHL 96, beat the crap bargain bin game, and they still had $8 on it. It's like, that really is like a $3 or $4 game. And it is what it is, and they're doing this with everything. Like, the media is too expensive here, and I know in the States it's a little bit better from what I'm hearing from some of my followers. So good for you guys. I'm glad it's still going okay for you down there. Up here in Canada, it's absolute dog shit. I don't know how these places are staying in business. We will hit Talese, we will hit Salvation Army and all these places, and it's just horrendous. The pricing is actually ridiculous. I don't know who's going to buy this stuff anymore. There's not really margins for resellers to make money here, and an average person buying the stuff, you're basically paying retail. Why would you pay $20 for a ratty old sweater when you could go to Walmart and buy a brand new one for $10 or $15? And yeah, it might not be a name brand one, but it's all made in China shit, man. Even the Tommy Hilfiger and all this bullshit, it's all made in China. It doesn't matter. So this guise of paying for quality, it's bull, man. Don't fall for that stuff. Clothes are clothes to me. They always have been. As you can see what I wear, I'm wearing Under Armour stuff from the outlets. Is what I wear half the time. It's cheap, and then they go on for 50% off. Like, I just refuse to spend a ton of money on clothing. I don't see the value in it. Everyone seems to have a side hustle now, no matter what field you're in. And it's just the way our economies are going. People don't have a lot of surplus income. First thing they do when they don't have extra money is they're going to sell the products themselves. They're not going to donate to these stores anymore. If you have a pile of stuff and with a little legwork, you can put it on Marketplace or have a yard sale or even put it on an auction site and, even make yourself 50 or $100. It's worth your while doing that as long as you have the time to do it than to donate it to these companies. And you are going to see people donate less. I can see it in our thrift stores. We go out every time, there's less and less on the shelves, and there's less toys, there's less video games, there's less media. All of those shelves are getting a lot sparser, guys, and I'm telling you, it's because people are refusing to donate. They are selling this stuff on their own now, and it's been happening for a couple years, but it is getting worse. Next is kind of the CEO pays, and this is astonishing to me. I didn't realize how much money the CEOs were making here. The CEO for Savers and Value Village, if you can see, I'll put him up on the screen here. His name is Mark Walsh. $10 million a year for a charitable type company. Guys, quit donating to these places. They're absolute dog shit. They're taking advantage of you. They're taking your stuff and they're turning it into money for these guys to make millions of dollars. It's absolute lunacy. I don't know why anyone would donate to these places. It makes no sense to me. Donate to your local ones. They're the ones running the churches. They're the ones feeding people. You know, they're doing stuff in the community. We have a couple in our town that are community based. They donate to the church and they do stuff like that. That's who I would donate to. Don't line these assholes' pockets because that's all you're doing when you donate to Value Village, Savers, you know, Goodwill. I forget what the Goodwill guy's name is, but he is also the same. Millions of dollars, and he's been caught up in some greasy looking stuff where he's not only getting company profits, but he's kind of like siphoning money out of it too to his private stuff. Absolute lunacy. Don't donate to these guys. Next up is internet awareness. Anyone can go on eBay, anyone can go on Amazon, anyone can go on any store and see what these things are worth now. So when they're inflating these prices, people will simply just not pay them. Like you can go in and check something on your phone, and if it's priced too high, you're just simply not going to buy it. And also, people understand what they have now, guys. It's not 20 years ago when, you know, a grandma was getting rid of her N64 collection, or grandpa had a bunch of Ataris in the basement and stuff. And that still does happen at yard sales. People will keep donating less and less in this because they do know what the stuff is worth. Everyone knows, like, oh, if I got a few Pokemon games for my Game Boy, you know, they're worth a fortune. It is what it is. Everybody knows that now. Most people are educated on what things are worth. They will not be donating to these places, and I don't blame them. Especially with the internet, people will sell this stuff themselves. If you go onto your local Facebook marketplace area, or their buy and sell groups or anything, you can see how much has been listed on there now. It's absolutely insane. It's good and it's bad. It's inflated a lot of the prices, but you can see that people know what stuff is worth. And if they know it's worth money, they're not going to donate it to these friggin' shitholes. Big reason too is high overhead. These are massive companies. They're paying their employees a ton, not the local workers, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about upper management, the CEOs in this. They're all making tons of money off the backs of this stuff they get for free. You know, they have huge buildings, they got huge warehouses. Now they're doing online presences, you know, so they're running websites and all this stuff. They're huge bloated corporations. The overhead has to be insane, and they're really in that catch 22 now. It's where they have to charge these high prices to sustain the business model, or it's just not going to work. So they've really run this stuff into the ground. And don't get me wrong, they're still making tons of money. I understand that. But at some point, I don't see this as a sustainable model where your business gets free items from people to sell. I just can't see this staying the way it is. Something is definitely going to end up changing here. And honestly, a huge driver of all this is just the recession. Anyone that thinks we're not in a recession in Canada or the United States, or even my friends overseas in Australia or England, that the world is in a global recession, guys. And you can see the writing on the wall. People are just simply spending less. They don't have disposable income. Prices on this used stuff is really high. They simply won't go there, and they aren't going there. I'll tell you from our own experiences, when we go out in the mornings, we usually go early, so we get there early, and then we're back home by 12 or 1. You know, I got to get the kids off the bus usually, unless it's on a weekend. Sundays, half the stuff's closed, so we don't go. But if we go into like a Friday, you know, we have to kind of hurry, go through everywhere, and get home. So if you go to these stores, they are not that busy anymore. And in fact, if you go to our local Talese stores in Belleville or Kingston, they're actually a ghost town in the mornings. There's hardly anyone in there. And now Talese, it's mostly geared towards clothes, and that they don't have a huge media section or toy section in our area. However, you have is ridiculously overpriced. Usually you hardly ever find a good deal in there. But at some point, I wonder how long they can keep these massive stores open and running, operate at somewhat of a profit before they actually close the doors here. You guys know yourself, when we're in a recession, the first thing people spend money on, food, housing, you know, stuff at thrift stores like that, they're not going to buy it. And no one in the States, it's going to get tougher. I've seen some videos about Temu charging the tariffs now and stuff getting pretty expensive there. So that will definitely affect everything down there. I do feel for you guys. It's going to be pretty rough, and I hope you guys come out on the other side really well. I really do. In my personal opinion, regular customers have stopped coming to these stores. I know in my travels, I can tell what I see, and 90% of the people I see in these stores are buying to resell. Almost everyone has a phone out, everyone's scanning books, they're scanning media and stuff. They're looking for that kind of stuff they can buy and sell. It really is not a store for lower income people anymore. That part is a shame. I do agree. It really is ridiculous. But it's been a long time up here in Canada. Stores have been selling stuff that are geared towards lower income people, guys. And maybe our economies are just different than in the US. Have not been stores for poor people for many, many years here. It really is interesting, and I do suggest you look this stuff up on the interwebs. The stuff with Goodwill and Savers and all this, they are just greasy pricks, man. They honestly are. And my advice to you is support local. Buying and selling is fun. Go to yard sales, go on Facebook Marketplace. That's where the deals are going to be, guys, not at these places much anymore. I really am curious, especially for my American friends, if you would let me know in the comments how you're doing and what thrift stores are doing good for you. I'd really like to hear your experience. Because from what it sounds like me, our experience up here is way different than yours down there. Now, I have heard some comments that California and New York is not the greatest anymore. I don't know. I would really like to know. Let me know in the comments below. I hope everyone's having an awesome day. I'm not being a Debbie Downer here. This is just the way it's going up here in Canada, guys. These thrift stores are absolute shit now, and it really does suck because it's not really even fun going to them anymore, other than horsing around with friends and family. So let me know. I hope everyone's having an awesome day. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.